My sister used to laugh at me because of my financial situation, but when I got rich she started to respect me, but I haven't forgotten anything. So yeah, I'm writing this because it's been on my mind lately, and I figured this sub might get where I'm coming from. I grew up in a poor family, just like my sister. We didn't have much: hand-me-down clothes, cheap canned food, parents working long hours for barely enough to keep the lights on. It was the same for both of us, no favoritism or anything. I remember we'd share a single pair of winter boots when the snow hit, taking turns walking to school. That's how it was. Neither of us had any kind of head start in life. My sister, though, she got out of that situation earlier than I did. She was 2 years older, and when she turned 19, she married this guy she'd been dating for a while. He wasn't loaded or anything, definitely not some rich dude in a suit, but he had a steady job. He could afford to buy her little things, like a necklace or a new dress every now and then. They'd even go on these weekend trips twice a year, nothing fancy, just a cheap motel a few hours away or a camping spot. To me back then, that sounded like luxury. I was still stuck at home, sleeping on a mattress with springs poking through, eating ramen for dinner most nights. She'd come back from those trips and talk about them nonstop. How they'd gone hiking or eaten at some diner with amazing pie. Meanwhile, I was scraping by, trying to figure out how to pay for community college textbooks with the $50 I'd made bussing tables all week. She started looking at me different after she got married, like I was some kind of loser who couldn't figure life out. She'd laugh about it too, not in a mean way at first, but it's dumb. She'd say stuff like how I'd probably be stuck in that house forever, how I didn't have what it took to make it, like she did. I didn't argue back. I just kept my head down and kept going. After my sister got married, things shifted between us. She had her little life set up, her husband, their small apartment, those weekend getaways, and I was still the kid brother who couldn't get it together. I was working odd jobs back then, whatever I could find. Dishwasher at a greasy diner one week, stocking shelves at a convenience store the next. The pay was terrible, and I'd come home exhausted, hands smelling like bleach or cardboard dust. She'd visit sometimes, usually to see our parents, and she'd see me in my stained work shirt or counting change for the bus. That's when the laughing really kicked in. She'd sit there at the kitchen table, sipping coffee from a mug she brought because ours were chipped, and she'd start in on me. She'd say how I was wasting my time, how I'd never amount to anything if I kept living like that. It wasn't just teasing, it felt like she genuinely thought I was a failure. She'd point out how she had a husband who took care of her, how she didn't have to scrape by anymore. I'd just nod and let her talk. I didn't have much to say back then. I was too tired, and honestly, part of me wondered if she was right. I started saving up for college around that time. Not some big fancy university, just a local community college a bus ride away. I figured if I could get a degree, maybe I'd have a shot at something better. But it wasn't easy. Tuition wasn't cheap, even at a place like that, and I had to cover it all myself. No one was handing me anything. My sister didn't get it. She'd see me stressing over bills or skipping meals to save a few bucks, and she'd laugh harder. She'd say I was chasing a pipe dream, that I'd end up broke and alone anyway. I kept working, kept saving, and didn't let her see how much it got to me. While I was grinding away, my sister's life took a different turn. She got pregnant pretty fast after getting married, barely a year in. It wasn't planned, from what I could tell. She'd show up at the house with a growing belly, talking about how she was excited but also how everything was changing. Her husband's job was enough to keep them afloat, but with a kid on the way, there wasn't much extra. Those weekend trips stopped. The gifts got smaller, maybe a pair of earrings instead of a necklace. She didn't complain about it though. She seemed happy enough, or at least she acted like it. College wasn't an option for her after that. She'd never been big on school anyway, she barely finished high school, and now she had a baby to focus on. She stayed home, took care of the kid, and leaned on her husband to pay the bills. I didn't judge her for it. People make their choices, and that was hers. But she still acted like she'd figured out life better than me. She'd see me heading off to class after a late shift, backpack slung over my shoulder, and she'd smirk. She'd say I was wasting my energy, that I should just find a decent job and settle down instead of playing student. Meanwhile, I was pushing through. I got into community college and paid for it with every cent I'd saved. I worked nights, weekends, whatever it took. Classes weren't easy. I'm not some genius, but I kept at it. I'd fall asleep in the library sometimes, books spread out, because I didn't have time to study at home. My sister didn't see that part. She just saw me stumbling in late, looking like a mess, and she'd laugh again. She'd say I was destined to scrape by forever, that no amount of school would change where we came from. I didn't argue. I just kept going. College took everything I had, but I got through it. After 2 years at community college, I transferred to a state university to finish my degree. I still worked, couldn't afford not to, but I cut back to part-time so I could focus. I graduated with a business degree, nothing flashy, just a piece of paper that said I'd done the work. By then, I was in my mid-20s, older than most of the kids in my classes, but I didn't care. I'd paid for it myself, no loans, no help from anyone. That felt good, even if no one else noticed. After graduation, I didn't land some big corporate job or anything. I started small. I'd learned enough in school to know I didn't want to work for someone else forever, so I started my own business. It wasn't glamorous, just a little operation I built from scratch. I saved up what I could, rented a cheap office space, and got to work. The first year was rough. I barely slept, lived off instant coffee and takeout, and poured every dollar I made back into it. My sister didn't know the details, she didn't ask, but she saw me hustling and still didn't take it seriously. She'd drive by with her kid in the backseat and see me lugging boxes or whatever, and she'd laugh like it was a joke. She'd say I was kidding myself, that I'd burn out and end up with nothing. But it started to click. The business grew, slow at first, then faster. I got a few steady clients, hired a couple people to help, and the money started coming in. Not millions or anything, but decent. Enough to move out of that old house, get a place of my own, and stop worrying about every bill. My sister didn't say much about it then. She still acted like I was the same kid she'd always known, the one who'd never make it. I didn't bother correcting her. I just kept building. The money kept coming, and the business kept growing. I wasn't just getting by anymore, I was doing well. Really well. I moved into a bigger place, bought a car that didn't break down every other month, and started putting cash away for the future. It took years of late nights and stress, but I'd made it happen. No handouts, no shortcuts, just me figuring it out step by step. By the time I hit 30, I was pulling in more in a month than my sister's husband made in a year. Maybe 2 years. It wasn't about showing off. I didn't care about that, but the difference was obvious. My sister started noticing. She'd call more often, asking how I was doing, what I was up to. She stopped laughing. Instead, she'd talk about how smart I turned out to be, how she always knew I had potential. It was a complete flip from the old days. She'd come over sometimes, bringing her kids, 2 of them by then, and she'd look around my place, eyes lingering on the furniture, the TV, the kitchen that didn't have peeling linoleum. She didn't say it outright, but I could tell she was sizing it up. Her tone changed too. She started treating me like I was someone worth listening to, not just a broke kid she used to mock. I didn't buy it. I remembered every time she'd laughed at me, every time she'd said I'd never get anywhere. She didn't care when I was working doubles to pay for school, or when I was eating rice and beans because it was all I could afford. She didn't offer a dime, didn't even ask if I was okay. Now that I had money though, she was all respect and smiles. It didn't sit right with me. I wasn't rude about it. I didn't call her out, but I kept my distance. I wasn't about to forget how she'd been. Things stayed like that for a while, my sister acting nice, me keeping her at arm's length. Then she started dropping hints. It was subtle at first. She'd mention how her husband's job wasn't as steady anymore, how the kids needed new clothes or school supplies. She'd bring it up casual like, not asking outright, just planting the idea. I didn't say much back. I'd nod, change the subject, keep it neutral. But she got bolder. One day, she came over and laid it out plain, she wanted me to help them financially. She didn't see it as a favor. In her mind, it was my duty. She said I had so much now, more than I needed, and families supposed to look out for each other. She talked about her kids, how they deserved better, how it'd be good for them to have a little extra. She acted like it was obvious I'd step up, like my money was partly hers because we were blood. I listened, didn't argue, just let her talk. She didn't bring up the past, how she'd laughed at me, how she'd never offered a hand when I was drowning. That part didn't seem to cross her mind. I thought about it after she left. She wasn't wrong about the kids, they were innocent in all this. Her oldest was starting school, the younger ones still in diapers. They didn't pick their parents, or their situation. But her? She'd made her choices. She'd married young, had kids quick, and leaned on her husband instead of building anything for herself. I'd clawed my way up alone, and she'd watched me struggle without a shred of help. Now she wanted a cut of what I'd earned. It didn't feel fair. Still, I couldn't shake the thought of those kids. I decided I'd do something, but not the way she expected. I didn't give my sister a straight answer right away. I needed time to figure out how to handle it. After a couple weeks, I told her I'd help, but only with the kids. Not her husband, just the little ones. She didn't love that, I could tell. Her face tightened up when I said it, but she didn't push back. She probably figured some money was better than none. I set it up so the cash wouldn't go straight to her hands. I opened accounts for the kids, put money in there for school stuff, clothes, whatever they need growing up. I told her I'd cover specific things, tuition for a decent preschool, new shoes when they outgrew the old ones, but she had to show me receipts. No blank checks, no handouts for her to spend, however. She agreed, probably because she didn't have a choice. I started sending the money, small amounts at first, then more as the kids got older. I kept track of every penny, where it went, what it bought. I wasn't about to let it disappear into her rent or her husband's car payments. The kids got what they needed: backpacks, winter coats, a tutor when the oldest struggled with math. I saw the receipts roll in, and it felt right. They were taken care of, and I didn't have to wonder if I was being played. My sister didn't fight the setup, but she didn't like it either. She'd call sometimes, asking for more, saying the kids could use this or that. I'd ask for proof, show me the bill, show me the need, and half the time she'd drop it. I didn't budge. I wasn't doing this for her approval. I was doing it because I didn't want her kids to grow up like we did, scraping by with nothing. But I never forgot how she treated me, and I wasn't about to let her close enough to act like it never happened. The arrangement with the kids went on for years. I'd get updates, report cards, pictures from school events, stuff like that. My sister would send them, probably hoping it'd soften me up. It didn't. I cared about the kids, sure, they were family, and they didn't deserve to suffer, but I kept my sister at a distance. I didn't visit much. If I saw her, it was quick, usually dropping off something for the kids or picking up receipts. She tried to chat, act friendly, ask about my life. I'd keep it short. Work's good, I'd say. Busy. Then I'd leave. She never stopped treating me different now that I had money. The respect was always there, thick and obvious, like she thought I wouldn't notice the switch. She'd compliment my car, my house, my hard work. It was night and day from the old laughs and jabs. I didn't call her out on it. I didn't see the point, but I didn't let it pull me in either. I remembered too much. The nights I'd come home dead tired from 2 jobs, her voice in my head saying I'd never make it. The way she looked at me, like I was less than her because I didn't have a husband or a weekend trip to brag about. That stuff doesn't fade. Her husband stayed out of it mostly. He'd nod at me if we crossed paths, but we didn't talk. I don't think he liked me much, probably didn't like that I had more than him now. My sister never brought up helping me back when I was broke, and I didn't expect her to. She acted like the past didn't exist, like her new attitude was enough to rewrite it. I didn't buy that. I kept helping the kids, kept the money flowing for them, but her and me? We weren't close. Never would be. So here I am now, years later, sitting on a pile of money I built myself. The business is solid, grew bigger than I ever thought it would, and I've got a life I couldn't have imagined back when I was washing dishes or cramming for exams. My sister's still in her same spot. Her husband's job picks up and dips, the kids are growing fast, and she's still leaning on what I give for them. She doesn't laugh at me anymore. She hasn't in a long time. Instead, she calls me successful. Says she's proud, asks how I'm holding up with all my responsibilities. It's a different tune, but I don't trust it. Never will. I keep helping the kids because it's the right thing. They're in school now, doing okay, better than we ever did at their age. I pay for their books, their field trips, a summer camp once. I check the receipts, make sure it's spent right, and it feels good to see them get a shot I didn't have. But my sister? I don't owe her anything. She didn't lift a finger when I was down, didn't care until I had something she wanted. I don't hate her, I'm not that kind of guy, but I don't forget either. Every dollar I send is for them, not her, and I make sure she knows it. Looking back, I'm glad I didn't let her words stop me. The laughs, the doubts, all that crap she threw my way, it pushed me harder. I built this life despite her, not because of her. She respects me now, sure, but it's too late for that to mean anything. I've got my own path, my own rules, and I'm sticking to them. That's how it's gonna stay.